Why are black men being belittled in ways that no other voting group? Now, a lot of love for former President Obama, but for him to single out black men is wrong. And some of the black men that I have talked to have their reasons why they want to vote a different way. And even if some of us may not like that, we have to respect it. So unless President Barack Obama is going to go out and lecture every other group of men from other identity groups, my message for Democrats is don't bring it here to black men who, by and large, don't vote much differently from black women.
Welcome back to Kharisma Daily. In case you haven't heard, former President Barack Obama belittled black men when he recently took to the Democratic campaign trail, trying to rally black men to vote for Kamala Harris. Let's take a listen.
Is that we have not yet seen the same kinds of energy and turnout in all quarters of our neighborhoods and communities as we saw when I was running. Now, I also want to say that that seems to be more pronounced with the brothers. So if you don't mind, just for a second, I'm going to speak to y'all directly and say that when you have a choice that is this clear, when on the one hand you have somebody who grew up like you, knows you, went to college with you, understands the struggles and pain and joy that comes from those experiences. He's had to work harder and do more and overcome and achieves the second highest office in the land.
Wow, wow, wow. The audacity of Barack Obama. But the pushback, it's been intense. Black men are waking up to what they see as political manipulations. We've got reactions from all sides, from commentators like Wesley Hunt, Xavier, Anton Daniel, Rob Smith, and Candace Owens. They're all weighing in on why Obama's effort to guilt trip black men into voting for Kamala Harris aren't landing. Is it about race? Or is it about real issues like the economy, freedom, and integrity? Let's break it down together. So grab your popcorn and buckle up because it's going to be a ride. So let's jump into it. And first up, I'm going to show you Antoine Daniel and Xavier as they went on the show, the Ingram show on the Fox News. Let's take a listen.
Now, Xavier de Rousseau, a former BLM activist, and Anton Daniels, a YouTuber, content creator. Xavier, let's start with you. You say you were personally, after watching them, offended by Obama's comments?
Absolutely. I mean, first of all, Obama's not as talented of a liar as he used to be. But quite frankly, my ancestors fought way too hard for me to have the ability to learn how to read, just for Obama to expect me to be so uneducated to think that I would vote for Kamala Harris simply because she claims to be a black woman. And I mean, if people want to stop having Kamala Harris be called a DEI hire, maybe he should stop trying to remind us of her demographic every 5 minutes. Black men not supporting Kamala has nothing to do with her being a woman. It has everything to do with her lack of accomplishments over the last 1,359 days.
Well, Anton, I'm watching this and I'm thinking to myself, the shtick is kind of worn thin with Obama, you know. How you doing, Pittsburgh? You know, that whole, it just seems very 2002 or 3, I mean, 2008, I should say. Right? It doesn't quite have the same appeal, as megastar-ish as he is.
You know, it's a Hail Mary pass, considering that we did vote him in based off of identity politics. And I'm not saying that all is bad, because he did do some things that I didn't necessarily disagree with that Trump absolutely did better than him. But at the same time, I felt that it was incredibly disrespectful, because he's making the assumption that we're not educated enough to lead our families, to look at the policies, to understand exactly what's going on with immigration, and we're supposed to overlook everything that they did over the last 3.5 years that was not in our favor. And when I say our, I'm talking about the American people, let alone men, let alone black men, and we're supposed to vote for her because of some misogynistic reason that's made up. And instead, we've learned how to educate ourselves, and now they've sent their Messiah back to rein us in and bring us back into the Democratic plantation. And most men that I've spoken with have said that it's absolutely disrespectful, and we're done with Obama.
Well, Xavier, again, when he says, "You're lucky Michelle's not here," he does. What is that supposed to mean? I mean, I guess it's supposed to be funny because she'll scold them in a more convincing or scarier fashion. It's kind of treating young black men as children, almost like you're children, and mommy's coming back and mommy's going to chastise you and you're going to get punished, but you're supposed to vote against your own economic interests to make Michelle and Barack happy and their 4 mansions.
It's absolutely degrading, and black men are sick of being reduced to being expected to think with our skin color. The same man who heavily endorsed Joe Biden, and we all can feel in our pockets, and we can see it for sure at our border, just how terrible the Biden-Harris administration has been for our country. And Obama admitted himself back in an interview with Steve Colbert that if he could, he would run our country from an earpiece down in the basement. And it wouldn't surprise me if that's exactly what he's doing.
Now, Xavier, Anton, the media are really pushing Obama to be the, rescue agent for Kamala's campaign. Watch this.
Barack Obama, with joy and with humor, is able to sort of get through to an audience that it's not okay to lie. Mm-hmm. It's not okay to sell the presidency. It's not okay to be a narcissist and to have the reins of the presidency.
Anton, so Kamala's joy campaign isn't really working. So Obama's going to come in, and again, you're supposed to make less money in real terms, right, and be happy with it to make Obama and like MSNBC happy? I don't understand this argument.
They took the same blueprint that got Obama elected, and he was a first for us, right? So our grandparents and our parents and things like that wanted to see this happen, but they were largely voting out of ignorance and voluntary ignorance because they only wanted that identity politics in order to push him through into the presidency. But admittedly, where he was charismatic, she isn't. And so we can see through her. She's a chameleon. When they unleashed her and they allowed for her to be able to take reporters' questions and things like that, it showed that she was completely incompetent. And frankly, not only do we feel disrespected, but I'm uncomfortable with Obama standing in front of us trying to scold us and then divert our attention away from the things that's really meaningful, especially for our families. I'm not comfortable with him. I don't want to hear any more messages of hope. I don't want to hear any more messages of joy. I can feel it with my pocketbooks. My friends can feel it with their pocketbooks. And we're ready for him to get out of our way.
I mean, Xavier, I saw something on YouTube. I think it was yesterday, or maybe it was Instagram. But it was a young man, African-American, and he was talking about the price of food. And I think he was at some fast food place. I can't remember what. I think it might have been McDonald's. But just the nuts and bolts, when you go through just what a Happy Meal costs, the differential in simple things that families like to treat themselves to, that's shocking. Like in Obama, that doesn't affect him. It doesn't affect Hillary. It doesn't affect Trump. But Trump somehow has that ability to say, that's not acceptable in America. But they think Obama's charm is going to override daily life for people. The charm offensive from him. It's not 2008 any longer.
I can't emphasize enough that being a young black voter, it feels like the Democrats are constantly trying to gaslight me about my own reality. I know how expensive food is. I know how expensive gas is. And I know how many illegal immigrants are running around in Los Angeles. We are sick and tired of being expected to feel good with Barack Obama, or now they're trying to put the ovarian version of Barack Obama up there and tell us that she is talented. She is absolutely not talented. And on behalf of black men, it's not that we're opposed to having a female president, because Ms. Ingram, I would love to vote for you if you ever decide to run.
Only if you guys are in my cabinet. That's the only way I'm going to do it. Xavier and Anton, thanks for spending time with us on a Friday night. We appreciate it.
And there you have it. That was powerful. You know what? Black men are fed up with being reduced to skin color in politics. And they're right. What has Kamala Harris really done to earn support from Black men? I'm listening. I'm waiting. What has she done? What concrete policies or actions have made a difference in their lives? I want to know. When you have that answer, you can reach out to me and let me know. But let's continue. Moving on, now we have Wesley Hunt, and he is firing back at Obama, saying Black men aren't voting based on race, but for who will fix the economy. Let's take a listen.
When Barack Obama descended from Martha's Vineyard to then wag his finger at Black men and blame them for not voting for Kamala Harris because she's a woman. I think that's absolutely insulting to people like me. This is not about identity politics. This is about voting for the right person that's going to help out your pocketbook, not about voting for them because of the color of their skin. And what Black men now realize is that it was better under President Trump than it is under Kamala Harris. And people like Barack Obama that spends his time mostly around the white Hollywood liberal elites have absolutely no idea what it's like to buy groceries and put gas in his car and live in an economy like this. So therefore, they get to come down and wag their finger at us, but we aren't paying attention to that anymore because we have to live with the disaster that we've seen for the past 4 years. And furthermore, Larry, I don't want anybody voting for anybody based on the color of their skin. I am a congressman in a white majority district. They're not voting for me because I'm Black. They're voting for me because of my conservative values and how I feel about this country, my acumen, my education, and my service. That's what this all needs to be about. Let's cut the race out. Let's cut out all the pandering to the Black community, and let's get down to brass tacks. It is about the border. It is about the economy. It is about our safety. And that doesn't impact just young Black men or young white men or Hispanic men. It impacts every single demographic in this country. That's what we're fighting for.
Well, outstanding. Wesley brought up something huge here. Black men are tired of the emotional guilt trip. They're saying, stop telling us how to vote because of identity politics. We're voting for the policies that will help us and our families. This isn't about race for them anymore. It is about survival. Moving on to Rob Smith. Oh boy. He really laid it out, and he said some really important things. He was blasting the Democrats for sending Obama to guilt trip Black men into voting for Kamala, whose biggest campaign promise is protecting abortion access in Black communities. Let's take a listen.
Has decided to send out a biracial Black man, Barack Obama, to lecture Black American men to vote for a biracial Black woman, Kamala Harris, whose chief campaign promise is to protect and expand abortion. Therefore, more Black babies will be killed in America. I want you to listen to me again. Democrats and the left thought that it was a good idea to send a biracial Black man, Barack Obama, his mother is white, his father is Kenyan, to lecture Black American men who were born in this country to vote for a biracial Black woman, Kamala Harris, whose father is Jamaican and mother is Indian, in order to fulfill her chief campaign promise. The only thing that she ever seems to be able to talk about is quote unquote protecting women's rights, which means protecting abortion rights and expanding abortion rights and whatever. And we all know that per capita, the largest amounts of babies that are aborted in America are Black babies. So the left sent biracial man to lecture Black American men to vote for a biracial Black woman whose chief campaign promise is to expand abortion so that more Black babies are aborted in the United States of America. And they thought that was a good idea.
Wow, wow, wow. Just drop the mic, because what he said is pure gold and so true. Let that sink in. Let what he just said sink in. He is on fire. The truth is, Black men are looking for leadership that will address real concerns like economic empowerment, not just expanding access to abortion, which may feel it isn't helping the long-term health of the community. Rob exposed a strategy that's backfiring, and you can't guilt trip people when they see through the smoke. But let's one more. I got one more man to bring up. Well, actually, it's not a man. It's Candace Owens. And I did have another gentleman I wanted to showcase today, but I decided to go with Candace because Candace really laid the foundation why Obama is not, he doesn't have the right to come, trying to shame Black men into voting for Kamala Harris. He has no foundation. He doesn't have the standing or the right to even inspire them to vote for Kamala. And I love how Candace just laid it out. And this was why I left her reaction to this explosive pushback to Obama for the last, because then she's going to bring it all home. So let's take a listen.
All right, guys, let's get into some stories. So Barack Obama is back making the rounds. Okay. He says that Black men should be voting for Kamala Harris. And I just think that I have a lot to say about this. I think that it's time. It is time, Black America. It is time for us to revisit Barack Obama in general. And I know, okay, it's a sensitive subject. I know this is one of those things where me, the messenger, is definitely going to get shot because none of us were awake back in 2008. So when people were pointing out some oddities about Barack Obama, right, everyone was quick to go, oh, that's because of racism. Like, that's like, come on, this is absolutely happening because you just don't like him because he's Black. And I count myself among them. I have to always remind you guys, like, I was a liberal or left-leaning. I never actually voted for Democrats, but I, too, thought that anybody that was saying anything about him was racially motivated. I cried the night that Barack Obama won. But I want to be clear. I've grown up since. I've got 3 kids now. I'm married. I'm seeing the world through a different way. I realize what the media is, and I realize how they really do think that Black people are stupid. And in the retrospect, there were definitely some very weird things about Barack Obama. For example, and this is just a fact, back in 1991, when Barack Obama was completely unknown to the public, he was working with a literary agency that was named Acton and Distal, okay? They were tasked with promoting his first book, which was a book that was meant to be entitled Journeys in Black and White, which actually never wound up being published. But in anticipation of his book being published, they were promoting Barack Obama and other authors that were on their roster. And they promoted them in a booklet, which they distributed to people in the publishing industry, like, hey, here are our authors that we want you to publish. And in the booklet, they included a biography of all of their clients. And this is the biography that they included of Barack Obama. Okay, take a look here. It says, this is real, 100% real. Barack Obama, the first African-American president of the Harvard Law Review, was born in Kenya and raised in Indonesia and Hawaii. The son of an American anthropologist and a Kenyan finance minister, he attended Columbia University and worked as a financial journalist and editor for Business International Corporation. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so the whole concept of, like I said, that's 100% legit. The whole concept of whether or not he was born in Kenya was not coming out of racist ideas, right? It wasn't because people were just trying to delegitimize him. It was because he had a literary agent, and that literary agent published a pamphlet, and that pamphlet said that he was born in Kenya. And then suddenly that changed, and they were like, no, never mind. He was born in the USA. That person who published this never gave an answer for why they wrote that. They tried to say like, oh, like that maybe the literary agency just wrote that. Why would anybody just write that you're born in Kenya? It's like a weird thing to write. Okay, doesn't matter in the scheme of things. He was already president for 8 years, but it's good to go back on that. And then, of course, there was this other odd thing that happened. Like, he did, by the way, grow up in Indonesia. That's a fact, right? He, like, at the first 8 years of his life were spent in Indonesia. His mother moved him to Indonesia, and he went by a totally different name. He went by the name Barry Soetoro. Here's an old clip of journalist Matt Meager from Inside Edition revealing that truth. Just so you know, these were not conspiracies. Okay, take a listen.
As Senator Barack Obama has made his run for president, some have questioned his background, particularly the 4 years he spent as a child in Indonesia. He was educated in 2 schools, first a Catholic school and then later a public school. Mevahar traveled to Indonesia to take you to both of the schools the candidate attended.
This is the Assisi Catholic Grammar School in Jakarta, Indonesia. And Barack Obama is on his way to becoming its most famous former student.
Barack Obama.
The only record of Obama having attended the school is this old register. And look, it lists his name as Barry Soetoro. That's the name Obama took from his Indonesian stepfather, Lolo Soetoro.
Okay, so whatever you make of this, what we know is that Barack Obama was, first and foremost, right after she gave birth, his white mother is the person that raised him, okay? Her name is Stanley Dunham. There she is, right there. That is Stanley Dunham. Okay, he never lied about this. He did not grow up in a household with his Kenyan father at all, Barack Obama Sr., whatever. He was raised by his mother, Stanley Dunham, and then she married a person who worked for the Indonesian government as a geographer. She married Lolo Soetoro, and Barry Soetoro was born. You know, he then moved to Indonesia. He went to school in Indonesia, and then he gets sent back to Hawaii at the age of 10. So for the first 10 years of his life, I'm just going, okay, like he was not exposed to black people at all. He was exposed to Indonesians. And then he gets sent to Hawaii to get raised by his exceedingly white grandparents. Here's a picture of his grandparents. That's Madeline Dunham and Stanley Dunham, the person whose mother has the name of her father. So then, yeah, he is in Hawaii as well. And in case you didn't know this, he was extraordinarily wealthy. You probably could figure that out by all this moving around. That's why while he was in Hawaii, he was enrolled in a private school. He attended the Punahou School, where tuition is, for grades K through 12, tuition is $31,000 per year. That's today, so you can account for inflation, okay? But that's where his grandparents enrolled him, okay? So it's important to note also that in 1970, when Barry Obama got to Hawaii, there were only 5,925 black people in all of Hawaii. Okay. And it's worth noting that 80% of those, north of 80% of those 5,000 black people were in the military. He was not exposed to black people at all, is what I'm trying to make the point. Okay. He had literally not a single part of his upbringing was he around black people. There were no students, no black students at his very expensive private school. Okay, there's no black people in Indonesia. And really, for those of you that haven't been to Hawaii, it's still like, it has nothing to do with America. It feels like we just took Hawaii and we're like, yeah, you're America. But when you go out there, you're like, okay, this is like its own thing entirely. They look more Asian than anything else. And they're kind of a little pissed off that we took them, if we're being completely honest about Hawaii now. So he went there. His mother went to a school that the same one that his dad went to in Hawaii, the same one that his stepdad went into Hawaii. Really kind of feels like he was a part of some weird military program. And then after that, after going to his $31,000 per year private school in Hawaii, he goes to Occidental College in Occidental University or college, whatever it is, in California for 2 years, where he roomed with a white guy for the first year, white guy with blonde hair. He's written about it for his freshman year, and then moved to live off campus in his sophomore year with a Pakistani for 1 year. His dorm mates have described him as doing a mean Mick Jagger impression. Literally, I know I've heard the name Mick Jagger, but I had no idea that he was the lead singer of the Rolling Stones until today. I was today years old when I learned that. I'm just saying, I understand, like, people grew up in a household that listened to rock and roll. I didn't grow up in that household. MJ was not Mick Jagger for us. It was Michael Jackson. The whole reason we're doing this series is because somebody came for the Jacksons. That's the kind of household I grew up in. So then Barry Obama met and dated a woman in his sophomore year. Her name was Alexandra McNear. You might remember she's the one that released the letters that Barry wrote to her, where he talked about his homosexual feelings. Like, he says, like, he makes loves to men in his mind. And so he had like homosexual inklings. He then went to Columbia University and still dated Alexandra McNear and was writing her these letters at that time. Anyways, I'm just thinking, like, what part of Barack Obama's life gave him the authority to tell black men how to act black in America? That's what I'm asking you. What part of his life? Was it Hawaii? Was it Indonesia? Was it Alexandra McNear? At what point did suddenly, like, Barry Soetoro become the person who gets to tell black men how to act in America? Because that's exactly what he's doing now. That's exactly what he has been doing. Is just because, like, once you do a photo op with Jay-Z or Diddy, suddenly, like, you're just like handed an award and gone, okay, now you're black. Now everybody in the black community has to listen to you. because that's what it seems like. His history and his background is equally as shady as Kamala Harris's, if we are being frank. And they're bringing him out to essentially whip Black Americans into shape because, oh, they gave him the black card. So now Black people better just listen to Barack Obama. So here he is suddenly lamenting the fact that Black men just aren't energetic enough for Kamala Harris. Take a listen.
Is that we have not yet seen the same kinds of energy and turnout in all quarters of our neighborhoods and communities as we saw when I was running. Now, I also want to say that that seems to be more pronounced with the brothers.
The brothers.
So if you don't mind, just for a second, I'm going to speak to y'all and say that when you have a choice that is this clear, when on the one hand you have somebody who grew up like you, knows you, went to college with you, understands the struggles and pain and joy that comes from those experiences. So you have to work harder and do more and overcome and achieves the second highest office in the land.
I'm sorry, Barry Soetoro, but you are going to have to sit your ass down. I got to tell him right now. That's what Barry has to sit his ass down. This is like, she understands the struggle no more than you understand the struggle. Both of you, okay? How does this work? Again, Barack Obama was raised by 3 extraordinarily wealthy white adults. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying that he is not genetically Black. He has been honest about the fact that he didn't know his dad, okay? His dad died, I think, when he was in college at some point. He never was raised by him, was never raised around Black people ever. That's fine. But why are you speaking to the brothers? Like, when did it become the brothers? What is this? How do 3 white people raise a strong Black brother? I want to know. Is it like grandma and granddad Dunham raised him to be a strong Black man, just like Kamala's Indian mother raised her to be a strong Indian woman or something? Like, what's actually happening right now? This is so insulting. And I am the most insulted by this, by the way, because I have dealt with years, the Black community telling me that I'm not Black because I voted for Trump. Like, you're not Black because you're a Republican. Why? Because I see through this stupid BS, this dumb game of thinking you can whip Black Americans with some hip hop music, with a Megan Thee Stallion twerking on stage, with Jay-Z and Beyonce marching at a BLM protest, and suddenly King, Queen, LeBron James sending out a tweet. Like, that's literally supposed to motivate me to vote, because I can see through the BS. I look up these people's background. I'm going, what about you is culturally Black? Barack Obama is not culturally Black. I'm sorry. It's time for us to accept that. Like I said, I was moved by him too in 2008. I thought, oh, okay. Like, I really didn't understand his background, and I questioned people who questioned him. But we have to just come to terms with the fact that we have been being played by Democrats for a very long time. And the reality is he is just as shady in terms of his background as Kamala Harris. I am a firm believer that they are breeding politicians. His background is almost too similar to Kamala Harris's in terms of literally no relation to the Black community, having so much wealth, and then as if they went through a school of what it is exactly that they should say to relate to the brothers. To relate to the brothers, to relate to the sisters. Oh, a little bit of Cardi B. I can't, okay? I'm sorry. I'm done with this. And I am actually very happy that Black men seem to be taking a larger leap away from this. I hope that Black women will follow suit and recognize this, to see how ridiculous it is that a woman who is saying she's washing greens in a bathtub and a guy who's suddenly calling Black people brothers, despite having literally no introduction to what it means to be culturally a Black person in America. I hope that we all can become awakened. But I'm very grateful that Black men seem to be holding the line. Like, I am with that 100%.
And there you have it. So what do you think I mean, I just showed you a lineup of pushback and reaction to what Obama has said or was trying to do or is trying to do and shame Black men into voting for Kamala Harris. I want to know what you think. Do Obama and the Democrats really believe that Black men will fall in line because of skin color? Or is this just a weak attempt to cover up the fact that Kamala Harris hasn't earned the support of Black men in this election? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And remember, we're voting for the policies that would impact our future, not just the candidates who look like us. So I look forward to hearing from you, and I'll see you in the next episode. Until next time, take care and bye for now.